The rain fell heavy that night. It mixed with the blood that ran down Sir Marcus Kane's armor. He pressed his back against the broken stone wall of what was once a temple. His sword arm hung useless at his side. 3 arrows stuck out from gaps in his plate armor, one in his shoulder, one in his thigh, one just below his ribs. Around him, in the darkness of the forest clearing, yellow eyes watched. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. The goblins had been hunting him for 3 days across the Blackwood Forest. They had finally caught him here at the ruins of the old temple of the Sky Father. Marcus laughed. It was a bitter sound that echoed off the broken walls. Of all the places to die, he would fall at the feet of a god who had abandoned this world centuries ago. The goblins whispered to each other in their harsh language. They were not attacking yet. They enjoyed watching their prey suffer. They enjoyed the fear they could smell on dying creatures. But Marcus was not afraid. He was too tired for fear. Too broken. He looked up at the dark sky. Rain fell into his eyes. He could barely see the stone statue that still stood inside the temple. It was the image of the Sky Father, arms raised toward the heavens. Most of the statue had crumbled away, but the face remained. Silent, empty, uncaring. Marcus moved his good arm. He made the sign of prayer that his mother had taught him when he was a boy. His lips moved, forming words he had not spoken in 20 years. "Great Father who watches from above," he whispered, "hear your servant in his final hour. Send your light to guide me home. Send your strength to lift my sword one final time. Send your mercy to those I leave behind." The words felt strange on his tongue. He had stopped believing in gods long ago. War had shown him that no divine power cared for the suffering of mortals. He had watched good men die screaming. He had watched children buried in the ashes of burned villages. He had watched priests pray while monsters tore them apart. No god had ever answered. But now, at the end, he found himself reaching for something, anything. Some hope that death was not the final darkness. Some comfort that his life had meant something. The sky remained dark. The rain continued to fall. No light came from above. No divine voice spoke words of comfort. His prayer went unanswered. Marcus closed his eyes. He felt the cold spreading through his body as his blood left him. The goblins were growing braver now. He could hear them moving closer. Their wet footsteps splashed in the puddles. Their weapons scraped against stone. "So this is how it ends," he said to no one. "Alone, forgotten, fed to creatures of the dark." He opened his eyes one last time. He looked at the goblin faces that now surrounded him. Their yellow eyes gleamed with hunger. Their teeth were sharp and stained. They wore scraps of armor and clothing taken from their victims. Human victims, elven victims, dwarven victims. The goblins killed everything that walked on 2 legs. One goblin stepped forward. It was larger than the others. It wore a crown made of finger bones on its head. A chief, probably. It spoke in broken common tongue. "Human die slow," it said. "Weep while you scream. You pray to Sky God. Sky God not come. Sky God dead like you soon." The other goblins laughed. It was an ugly sound, like animals choking. Marcus looked at the chief. Something strange was happening inside him. The cold that had been spreading through his body was fading. In its place, something else was growing. It was hot. It was angry. It was purely, completely human. He thought about his daughter. Elena was her name. She was waiting for him at the village of Ashford. He had promised to return before winter. He had promised to teach her how to ride a horse. He had promised to be there when she grew up. He thought about his wife. Maria had died 3 years ago from the plague. Her last words had been a request. "Take care of our girl," she had said. "Keep her safe. Give her a good life." He thought about his brothers in arms. Good men who had died beside him in a dozen battles. They had trusted him. They had followed him. They had given their lives so that others might live. He thought about humanity, his species, his people. They were not perfect. They could be cruel. They could be selfish. They could be foolish, but they were also brave. They were also loving. They were also stubborn beyond all reason. Gods might abandon them. Magic might fade from the world. Enemies might surround them from all sides. But humans never stopped fighting. They never stopped hoping. They never stopped standing up again after being knocked down. That was what made them human. Marcus felt his broken arm move. Pain exploded through his shoulder. It was the worst pain he had ever felt. But he did not scream. He reached down and gripped the handle of his sword where it lay on the ground. The goblin chief watched with confusion, then amusement, then a growing concern. "Human die now," it ordered. "Kill him. Eat him." But Marcus was already moving. He pushed himself up against the wall. His legs shook. His vision blurred. Blood poured from his wounds faster than before. He was destroying what little time he had left. He did not care. He raised his sword with both hands. The arrow in his shoulder scraped against bone. He screamed, but he did not fall. "I am Sir Marcus Kane," he said. His voice was stronger now. It echoed off the temple walls. "Knight of the Eastern Realm, defender of Ashford, father of Elena, husband of Maria, son of farmers who worked the dirt and never bowed to anyone." The goblins hesitated. They had never seen prey act like this. They had never seen a dying creature become more dangerous in its final moments. "My God did not answer my prayer tonight," Marcus continued. He took a step forward. The goblins took a step back. "But I do not need a God to answer. I am human. I am the answer to my own prayers. I am the only miracle I will ever need." He swung his sword. It was sloppy. It was slow. It was the swing of a dying man with no strength left. But it cut through the goblin chief from shoulder to hip. The creature fell in 2 pieces. The other goblins screamed. Some ran. Some attacked. Marcus killed 3 more before they brought him down. Then he killed 2 more while he was on his knees. Then he killed 1 more while he lay on his back in the mud. The remaining goblins fled into the darkness. Marcus lay there in the rain. He was surrounded by goblin bodies, his own blood mixed with theirs. The pain was gone now. Everything was gone now. He could feel himself slipping away, but he was smiling. He had not needed a god. He had not needed magic. He had not needed anything but his own human will, his refusal to accept defeat, his stubborn determination to fight until his last breath. The rain continued to fall. The night remained dark. But somewhere in that darkness, something watched. It was not a god. It was something older. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. It had felt a human's defiance. It had tasted his courage. It had witnessed his impossible stand against creatures of shadow. And for the first time in millennia, it was impressed. The thing that was not a god moved through the darkness. It approached the dying knight. It looked down at him with eyes that burned like distant stars. Marcus saw the light. He thought he was finally dying. He thought this was the doorway to whatever came next. But the light spoke. "You prayed to a dead god," it said. Its voice was like thunder from a clear sky. "You asked for strength you already possessed. You asked for mercy you did not need. You asked for light when you were already burning with your own fire." Marcus tried to respond. No words came. His throat was full of blood. "I am not the god you prayed to," the light continued. "That being died long ago, killed by its own disappointment in the creatures it created. But I am something else. I am the thing that was born from the first human who stood up after being knocked down. I am the thing that grows stronger every time one of your kind refuses to surrender." The light touched Marcus. The pain returned, but it was different now. It was the pain of healing, not dying. The arrows pushed themselves out of his body. The wounds closed. The blood stopped flowing. "You cannot die tonight, Sir Marcus Kane," the light said. "Your daughter is waiting. Your promise must be kept." And your kind has much work left to do, Marcus gasped. Air filled his lungs. Life filled his body. He sat up in the mud and looked around. The goblin bodies were still there. The rain was still falling, but he was alive. The light was fading. "What are you?" Marcus asked. His voice was rough, but strong. "I am what your people made me," the light answered. "I am the accumulated defiance of every human who ever faced death and said not today. I am the hope that survives in the darkest moments. I am the stubborn refusal to accept the unacceptable." The light was almost gone now. "I have many names," it said, "but your people call me the human spirit." Then it was gone. The darkness returned. The rain continued. Marcus stood alone in the ruins of the temple. He looked up at the statue of the dead god. Its empty face seemed less sad now, less abandoned. Perhaps the gods had not abandoned humanity after all. Perhaps humanity had simply outgrown them. Perhaps humans had created something new, something that did not sit in the sky waiting for prayers, something that lived inside every human heart, waiting to be awakened. Marcus sheathed his sword. He gathered what supplies he could from the fallen goblins. He set off through the forest toward Ashford, toward his daughter, toward his promise. He did not look back at the temple. He did not need to pray anymore. The rain stopped before dawn. The first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds. They found Sir Marcus Kane walking steadily through the forest, his armor dented and blood-stained, but his spirit unbroken. He was human. He was the miracle. He was the answer to his own prayers. And he was going home.